My pattern is concerned. So the next part I'm going to work on is going to be the front, which I'm going to start with making a crease, and then we'll stretch out the sides to match. And then after that will be the front ankle part, and then the heel. Okay, so now we're going to be doing this center crease here. This is how we start this one. As you can see, I've marked it so it fades out at this point here. And we're going to use our creasing board, the one we made out of plywood. I've got several different ways of doing this. It's just the most simplest way to demonstrate it for now. But yeah, I made a groove in it here. And what I'm going to do is line it up. This crease here. Then I got a creasing bar, which is just basically just a flat piece of steel. It's got kind of ground down to a bit of a point to it, but not too much. I place this down here like this, and basically hammer it out. Yeah, because at the end here is where I want it to fade out, but other than that I want it to be pretty well defined at the back here. So I'm not sure if you can see that. It's very, very slight at this point. And then I've got one, now that it's started, this is one I do for extreme bending. So what I'm going to do is define it more with this more. It's a little deeper, so I can get into more of a deeper crease on this. Yeah, I like that. And then what I want to do is I want to start stretching out the sides here to match. So again, I'm just going to be using this really shallow divot here. Start stretching it out just slightly on the upper parts here to match the back of the greave. So then from here I'm going to start bending it over the bar again. Kind of see it start to take shape a little bit here. That'll be the front greave. And as usual, got to planish out all these stretch marks here, clean them up. We'll define this later on, but for now this is just a good basic start here. Alright, at this point I'm going to work on the heel plate and the ankle plate. So what I'm going to start with is doing a crease for down the center for the actual ankle plate. Just going to chisel it on soft wood here. Clean it up here on the anvil. And I'm going to conform it. There's not a lot of stretching, it's a basic, just subtle. And it's just mostly bending to give it this basic shape here. So it has to conform to the actual saboton, which we're going to attach to that part here. So the only real stretching is going to be on the ankle, or sort of the heel plate. So we'll just start hammering it out here. Not a lot of stretching, but as you can imagine, your heel comes out at the very bottom here. So we'll concentrate on the lower part. See it starting to come together, but as usual we got to go planche out all the dents, so that's what we'll do next. So now we got to planche out all the crinkles and the bumps. There you can kind of see that it's got that nice heel curve to it. So as you can see at this point here, I've got most of the pieces roughed out. Again, we're basically going to build this temporarily, so we'll be putting it together with screws, nuts and bolts type of thing, to make sure everything lines up before we do anything final. But as you can see, I've got all the parts roughed out. I want to make sure that that this part fits onto the saboton, so I marked the holes there, and as you can see, that'll fit pretty close here. And this is going to be the front part, so we'll make sure that crease lines up. And then as far as the back is concerned, yeah, most of the basic stretching is done, so also the heel kicked out enough here, and we're going to be temporarily bolting that in place. So as you can see, this is a 4-part greave. Again, we're going to make this kind of as simple as possible. This is the simplest version. We can always get more complicated later. So we're making these sort of ambidextrous. So normally they would be left and right specific. So the only thing that will indicate that will be where we put the hinges and the pins. So this is kind of what stage we're at right now, and I'm going to be marking these and putting temporary bolts in them. We're going to try to even them out now that they're temporarily bolted together, but we want to make it so that it's really quite straight here. That isn't always the way they were, but that's how we're going to do it to keep it simple. So what we'll do is just a simple felt pen, level this out as much as we can, and draw an edge to it. So this is what we're going to cut off. We'll do that on both sides. That way they'll match up really well. And that's why these are all custom made, as you can see. Yeah, so we're gonna go cut that off and make both of these sort of match up as best we can. Okay, so at this point, we've basically tried to do a basic cleanup on all the parts. So we got the back of the greaves here, we got the heels, and I'm starting to mark them left and right to make sure I get the right parts together. So I got that, got the fronts here, and then temporarily just bolted it to the front of the saboton to make sure it works good. That'll be going on to this one here. So now, yeah, we're at a point where I'm going to attach everything with rivets, and then we'll do final shaping and then final cleanup. Because right now I haven't really ground anything. I just kind of give it a quick buff. So once we put everything together, that's when we'll do the final cleanup on it. Now we're going to rivet these two parts together. This is the back of the greave here. I drilled them out and I bolted it together temporarily just to make sure it'll work. But by doing this, we're going to be creating kind of one piece now, and that way I can start adjusting it and doing the final planishing and cleanup. So what I usually use, unless it's more decorative, but I use just arming nails, which is basically just a steel nail, and so I'm basically working it from the outside. So I put it over a bar like this, cut it off. Yeah, these are going to be really quite flush, so we don't want a lot sticking out, and we're going to be kind of finishing it. I'll show you how I do that. Got to be convinced. Cut it off. Okay, and then I've got I call it this rivet finisher. So what it does is it cleans this up, and it's basically it's kind of like a rivet set, but it's a chisel. So we're going to make sure that this is firmly attached. Like that. That way there's nothing sticking up. It's got kind of a clean rivet head to it. It's got that look. There. So that's the back of the, this one's the right greave. I'm starting to make the left and right specific because I'm going to be adding the hinges on the next stage. So that's basically the same thing for the left leg here. Now keep in mind, I'm trying to simplify everything. And do the most basic version, because you know you can get really fancy any place, and it's like anything else. The more time you spend on something, the more details you can add to it and customize them. And also for these, this is just going to be a display suit. Someone ordered it so that it's just for in their den, or for someone just to collect as far as just a display model. So I'm not spending a lot of time on the back of the greaves or the back of the armor, like a lot of the details. I'm going to be putting in the basic details, but it's never really going to be exposed or looked at as much as the front. So the front is where I'm going to really concentrate on making things look really good. So it's like cutting corners sort of on the back of the armor. Yeah, you can see it's got a really pretty straight line there. It's got this really nice curve. But like I said, we'll do the final planishing once they're together like this, making sure everything matches up. Okay, on to the fronts. For the front part, it's a little more complicated, a little more work on it. So I attach them just like I did with the backs. But what I did here was I pre-flared out this flange here, so it'll match the angle on the front here better. But when we rivet them together, that's when we'll do the final blending. So we got to blend the angle of this flange to match this. But it's best to do it when they're together, that way they really conform well. So that's where we're at right now. So we're going to attach it like we did with the back of the greaves. Ready to finish. Okay, so it's pretty close. We want this to be straight here, but like I said, there's still a gap here that we have to hammer down, and then we have to redefine the center crease as well once we've done that. So what I think works best is doing it on wood. That way you don't scar up the metal as much. So I try to just basically go over an edge of a piece of wood. Oh yeah, now I'm using a slightly different hammer. I just call these basically riveting, kind of like, these are the main workhorse hammers that I use, which has got a fairly flat face to it and a regular peen. But when you want to do shaping ones, often it's got more of a curve. It's got a slight curve to it as well, because I don't want the edge of this flat surface to mark it up here or deform the metal. So now it's a little more rounded. I mean, you can do it over top of a bar or, an anvil horn like this as well. But you just have to be more careful. But yeah, now since we flattened this out here, now I'm gonna have to redefine this here, sort of clean it up. So yeah, the fronts are definitely more work. So that's what we're gonna do. So to chisel it, again, I usually do it over soft wood. I'm gonna have to redefine that center ridge. So you can see, yeah. So I'm going to spend a lot more time. Like I said, I'm sort of just blasting through these, but the more time you spend, especially blending things together and making sure they match, and then we'll do a final cleanup. Like I said, we'll kind of go to the grinding wheels and the buffing wheels. But there really is no sense of doing that until we know for sure everything's matching. So that's kind of the stage we're at right now. Okay, welcome back. And so we're at a stage now where we're going to be attaching the front and the back of the greaves together. What I've done here is just temporarily bolted on the saboton to make sure it works properly, it functions good. So the important thing to do now is start making them left and right specific. So this one is going to be, let's see, I marked, this will be the right one. So if it's going to be on the right side, we're going to want the hinge to be on the outside here. Now, as you can see, what we're trying to do is mark them on like the apex of how far this part comes out here on the back of the greave. So this will be basically where we're going to attach the hinge. So we're just going to kind of do a basic mark where it's going to go. And this is pretty obvious, it's going to go on the bottom. So normally I make custom hinges for these, but because this is a more simple version, I'm trying to help you guys out too. But what it is this is a store-bought little hinge that you can buy, and they work pretty good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do an inset hinge. So we got to cut a little tiny notch out here and mark it, mark the holes. This. So we'll end up just manually cutting this part out, drilling these two holes, and this will be inset in there. And then we're going to do the same up here. So we're going to mark it, how much we're going to cut it out. There and there. And two holes. Yeah. So once I cut this out, we'll temporarily bolt them in place to make sure they're working good. And then what we'll end up doing is, because we want it to be the same for the other side, we'll end up marking the other one to match. So that's the stage we're at right now, is hinging these two pieces together. So moving on here, I cut out the recesses for these hinges. I was going to give you a little bit more information on some of a more historical looking hinges. As you can see, I've got some here, but these are all handmade. You can't buy these anyplace, so they're very time consuming to make them. These are ones I've made years ago. I still have a few in stock, but this definitely works fine, mostly because it's kind of hidden here, and so it'll still look pretty period looking. So yeah, again, what I ended up doing was I cut this part out here, and I had to kind of hand file it to make sure everything fits in there properly, and I insert it like that. And again, everything's usually temporarily built first before we commit to final rivets. So at this point, we're going to put in some nuts and bolts here to hold it in place. And then this is where we line it up to the back of the greave. This is like the front of the greave. So we'll hold it over top like that. What I'm trying to do is make sure that things line up as far as the angle is concerned. So I line it up with this line here. And then we'll be doing custom shaping later. But so I'm just going to mark the 2 holes here and 2 holes up here. I'll move that in just a little bit. Yeah, drill those out and then we'll attach these. So how we make the 2 legs match is wherever these hinges here are here on this side, I basically pre-mark them on the other ones. So here and here, we know that we can mark our hinges in that area, so that way both sides will be identical. Okay, so alright, so the stage we're at right now is we're connecting both the back greave and the front greave together with these hinges. Again, I'm just temporarily bolting them in place, and what I'm doing to help conform them to actually fit together pretty snug is I'm putting it over usually a pipe, or in this case this horn of this long anvil. Now you can work from the inside a little bit as well as the outside, but the whole idea is to conform them so they fit really snug together. That way they close nice and snug. So what I also did was I marked a spot where we're going to have a pin that closes them together. I marked it here and here. Again, it's pretty much opposite of the apex on the outside hinge. And then I want to make sure that they were both marked the same. So there, I marked both of them. So this hole I'm going to drill out, and then I'm going to make a special pin that's riveted onto the outside here that'll actually hold it in place. That's what we'll be working on next.